Morning and hello. My name is Statsman Dig. I will be keeping the stats for season one of Future Kings. I'm also going to be narrating this read through of the Future Kings handbook and rule set. Um, Along with me this morning are the three admins, Harm, Nicklet, and Doiling.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
What the mods are going to do is give our input on the different sections of the rule set, but if we don't think anything needs to be added to what is already there, we'll just keep on trucking. Sound good?
All right, everybody good?
Yep. Continue.
All right, so we'll get started here. So the first section, what is Future Kings? Future Kings is a Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War draft league for amateur skilled players looking for a friendly but competitive community. Our players' focus is to develop their COD skills while building relationships with teammates and other league members who share the same goal of constantly getting better. While there aren't any similar leagues out there, it is often difficult to improve when playing against teams hundreds of places ahead or below you on the game's battle ladder, especially when you don't already have a team. Future Kings aims to provide an environment where all players can have fun, improve, and grind together. Future Kings will use the most recent CDL rule set during each season. This includes game type variants and the map pool.
Obviously, we're going to have to wait for the CDL rule set to be developed, and if a situation arises where we're about to run showcase games and there's no CDL rule set, we'll just use the most recent GB variant that's on the website. So, yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, second section, who can play in the Future Kings? Season 1 will be limited to players in North America who are at least 17 years old. Players of all skill levels are welcome to sign up for this league. Understand that signing up does not guarantee a spot on a team. You will still need to be drafted by a captain to compete in weekly matches. The league is not for players who are considered pro/semi-pro or have played at that level before. That said, if you already have a talented team or even experience at the challengers level and would like to get involved, fear not. We are always looking for higher skilled players interested in coaching, casting, and mentoring. So feel free to drop by the league Discord server and shoot one of the mods a message.
What we mean by high skill is you'll know if you have played pro or semi pro. If you think that you might have played semi pro, you probably haven't. You'll know if you did. If you're still pretty good and you want to play in Future Kings, by all means join. Anything else, mods?
No, that explains it pretty well if you ask
Yeah,
me.
I think you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, those who have played pro or semi pro will probably not look to play in a free league anyway. So, yeah, you can go ahead, Digger.
Alright, how does Future Kings work? At the start of each league season, captains will take turns drafting eligible players from the sign up pool, forming 5 member squads. We're going to be playing 4v4 plus 1 sub. Each week during the regular season, teams face off with a best of 5 matches for points that determine who makes the playoffs and how they will be seeded. Playoffs are then played best of 5 double elim over the course of 2 days to determine the season's Future Kings champion. Before players are drafted, showcase or in-house games will take place where the players can show their skills to the captains. A league mod will vouch for each eligible player before the draft based on their participation in the preseason showcase games. You cannot enter Future Kings as a team. Each player who competes in Future Kings will be drafted individually or captaining a team. The team will disband and be reset for each new season where new players can join and new captains can be selected.
We get into that in further detail in the frequently asked questions, so bear with us. And also, one change to this is that playoffs are then played best of 5 double elim. Actually, what we're going to do if we have 8 teams is the top 4 will start in winners and the bottom 4 will start in losers, just to make it less strenuous on the scheduling. But everything else seems to be accurate. And we will have dates coming out soon. We have dates in mind, but we will wait for a little bit longer to reveal like the full schedule.
And
Yeah.
as well, I wouldn't worry too much if you see the one sub and worry that if you're a sub, you're not going to play. Uh, People consistently have things come up on Sundays, so if you're the sub, you probably will play just as much. But it's just a way to kind of regulate the league, so we're not going to be having to reschedule as much and lose streamed games.
Yeah, the reason that we have one sub is because of how often a sub will actually get to play.
Just to touch on the showcase games, you might think just playing like 1 or 2 games and getting vouched by a mod and then not playing in them is like the best play for you. But the more showcase games you play in, the more captains will see you, and like the higher your draft stock will go up as well.
Also, the
keep
more
in mind.
showcase games you play in, the more footage you'll have of your own gameplay to clip and send to teams that you're trying to get on in the future, even if you don't end up playing for a season of Future Kings. Okay, Digger, continue, I guess.
Right, so we're on the schedule. Signups are open on November 18th until 60 vouched players register. Captains will draft teams on December 20th, 2020. Regular season matches will be played every Sunday between 3 and 8 p.m. Eastern until the regular season is complete. Playoffs will start the following weekend. Teams are encouraged, but not required, to schedule scrims and or practice during the week to dial in your strategies for Sunday's official matches.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
Pretty
pretty
straightforward.
straightforward.
Besides just quickly touching on vouched players again.
Yeah.
We're not just going, just because you registered doesn't mean you're just good to be drafted. You actually do have to show up to showcase games.
Yes.
It's the minimum requirement, so you have to be vouched for by at least someone in the league, captains or admins, hopefully, because we'll be watching a lot of the games, but we don't want people just to register and then assume they're going to be ready for draft day and then just not show up. If you're playing, we're expecting you're probably going to show up.
Yeah, one of the admins or mods will be watching all of the showcase games anyway, so if you end up playing like an hour's worth of showcase games or even more during the 6 days that we have scheduled for them, you will be vouched for if you have active participation at least one of the days. Okay, good enough, Dig, go ahead.
Our goal. The goal of Future Kings is to create a well-structured, competitive atmosphere that focuses on player development. Our hope is to create a community of competitive players where everyone feels comfortable asking for advice and giving it to others. We will also be focusing on player exposure and league content creation. This will include having all matches streamed on Twitch with casters, an active Twitter account, full matchday VODs, and highlight videos on Future Kings YouTube, and hot mic episodes where we interview current players and captains. We're hopeful that Black Ops Cold War will have a ranking system to more accurately assign stand-ins and free agents, and give captains a better overall sense of who they are drafting. We're looking to add player stat tracking during the showcase games and regular season. So obviously that's where I step in. I'm going to be keeping the stats for the showcase games in the regular season.
Yep, don't
Yeah.
reveal any more as of yet.
Yep.
Okay. Go ahead. That's all fine and dandy.
Wait, I had something I wanted to touch on. The ranking system obviously is like a huge hopeful for competitive COD, but when we say like assign stand-ins and free agents, that's just to say like, say someone for whatever reason quit your team. That's just so we can assign someone of like equal skill, like from the free agent or stand-in pool.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest issues with a draft league without a ranking system in the game is assigning people who are either way above or way below the skill level of the person they're replacing, which can kind of ruin the team atmosphere of a game, but hopefully that we won't have that problem where all of the replacement players will be players who were vouched for but didn't end up getting drafted. So yeah, hopefully that won't be a big issue.
The main thought is that we don't want people to join in late during the season that are going to be a much higher skill level than a team that worked all season together as a basically a stack and didn't have to lose any of their players because they were all drafted and wanted to play. They don't just instantly see another team get two great players way better than the individual players that were on the team before and end up losing the league to them. So we really want the people in the league to, have the most advantage that they can.
Yeah, it'll be dire circumstances where we had to take a player who wasn't in the league at draft day to actually play full-time on a team, but hopefully that won't have to happen.
Good.
Yep.
Where can I learn more? All other information will be in the league Discord. Our league moderators are more than happy to answer any questions you might have, and will be organizing showcase games every preseason. You can also check out the complete rules and jump in and sign up.
Yep, that's fine.
Yep.
Rules. Reminder, the rules could be tweaked and adjusted from season to season based on the player feedback. There will be some bumps along the way, but the mods will try to have everything run smoothly. Rules for league players. Players cannot have played pro or semi-pro at any time. Players must be vouched for by a mod to be drafted. You can only get vouched for by playing in the preseason showcase games. Players must be able to play official matches on Sunday afternoons/evenings. League players are able to be traded by their captains before the trade deadline. after week 5 of 7 in each
That's
season.
assuming that we have 8 teams, by the way. Week 5 of 7.
Yes.
Okay.
The other captains will have the opportunity to veto the trade majority rules. If a player gets picked up by an NACAL team mid-season, they are encouraged to compete in both leagues, but will be required to finish that season of Future Kings. If a player leaves the season of Future Kings prematurely, they will receive a 2-season ban.
Yep.
All players will be from North America and at least 17 years old. This league is not for toxic behavior and egos. If you think you're too good for Future Kings, prove it during the playoffs, and then move on after you win the championship.
The reason why we suggest playing in NACAL is because we are partnering with them in the sense that they are going to recommend that people who don't already have a team come play for us and get better as an individual. And we will also recommend that league to teams who are interested in Future Kings but already have a team. And for teams who are looking to scout new players, can look at our showcase games and regular season and playoff games for the best players in the league who they might want to pick up for the following season of NACAL.
Good.
Yep.
Just on the players cannot have played pro or semi-pro at any time. If you're constantly playing against players that you have no idea who they are, chances are you didn't play pro or semi-pro. As myself.
Yeah. Yeah, the ones who have played pro or semi-pro, they know they have. Like, if
Yeah.
you think you might have, you didn't. You definitely know if you have. So if you're really good at COD, but you definitely didn't play pro, you can play in Future Kings.
Right, the rules for captains. Captain should be amongst the highest skill level players in Future Kings so that the draft will be as balanced as possible. They must coordinate their team to play 1 game a week. If you can't play on Sunday, you have to ask the opponent captain if they can reschedule for the following Saturday. Games are heavily preferred to be played on Sundays for streaming purposes.
The reason why we're doing Saturday of the next week is to make sure that players who signed up knowing that all the games are going to be on Sunday will at least be able to play their makeup games on the weekend. So say that you couldn't play on one Sunday, you'll be playing the following Saturday and Sunday in back-to-back games.
And again, the main hope is that we want to keep it just on Sundays because we know that people want to commit to other different things for the week, playing with their regular team or potentially playing in a different league like the NACAL. Again, a lot of those other leagues are based throughout the week, and again, it should allow you to play multiple things and do multiple things. We don't want to be restrictive by any means.
Yeah, we really hope that you'll be able to play your games on Sunday. There will be forfeits in some situations, but it'll hopefully be pretty rare, and hopefully we'll have 4 series every Sunday, and that'll be it. But obviously there will be circumstances that come up.
Alright. Captains must choose the starting roster for each week's matches at least 2 hours before game time. Since there are 5 players on each team, the player who is not starting will be available as a stand-in for other teams to use, only if they do not have 4 players. Teams must use 1 stand-in for league matches. Any more will be a forfeit. There will be a text channel created.
May be a forfeit.
Maybe a forfeit. So just to reiterate, teams may use 1 stand-in for league matches. If you have to use more than 1 stand-in,
If you have to
it's
use
gonna
more
be a
than one
forfeit.
stand-in and it's a reschedule game, it probably will be a forfeit. But if you can't find enough players, you will be able to reschedule hopefully to the following weekend. And what we mean by a stand-in, if you can't have 4 players, that means a team must not be able to have 4 of their own players, including a sub. You can't find a stand-in from another team to replace a player, even if your sub wants to play. You have to play your sub first.
Good.
Yep.
There will be a text channel created for each team before the draft starts. Captains are encouraged to create a new Discord server for their teams. The draft will be live on Twitch using Discord voice channel, which the captains are required to participate in. Captains may have the opportunity to ban maps in the rule set rotation to be decided.
Obviously, for that, we have to wait for the maps to come out that are actually going to be played in comp for each game mode. So yeah, that's definitely to be decided.
There's one thing I wanted to touch on. 1 second, I'll find it.
Another moment thing to touch on, Nick's kind of going back towards whatever he has to look for. I know it says that we encourage people to have their own Discord servers for their teams, but there is going to be a team chat for each team in the Future Kings Discord. along with, if you go into the voice channels, we have Team 1, Team 2, Team 3, Team 4. So if they want to use Discord while they're playing their game, they can do that as well.
Yeah.
So it might be encouraged, but there's definitely opportunity if you don't want to create another server.
Yeah, we would recommend using the league Discord server that's created for the teams for like map bans or maybe like organizing scrims and stuff like that. But if you want to talk like strategy with your team, it might be recommended that you just make your own server for a little bit more privacy,
Yes,
especially since some of the admins will be league players. Yeah, so I would recommend that anything regarding strategy or gameplay should be in like a team separate server.
We do encourage using the voice chats provided like in the Future Kings Discord server just like for games. That way we can do listen-ins and stuff like on the broadcast.
Yeah, that would be nice, obviously. And also, we should think about what was I going to talk about, man? I think I forget.
I have mine. You can think about it.
Yeah,
just because you were drafted last on like your team, and you're starting off as the sub for that team, it doesn't mean you're going to stay the sub for like the whole year. The captain can choose like who is going to be starting in any particular week. There's no rule that the sub has to play, but there's no rule saying that you have to stay the sub for the whole season either.
Yeah, for sure. The reason why we have captains pick their sub for each week is so that sub will become a stand-in for the week and is able to play for other teams. So hopefully every sub may have the opportunity to play in at least one of the games in a certain week, but there will be times where they obviously don't play, but hopefully they will get some action during the season, and I'm sure they will. Okay, good enough then?
Yep.
So just the stand-in free agent rules.
The rules for stand-ins and free agents. If you missed the sign-up deadline but still want to participate, you can become a stand-in/free agent. You will be pinged in Discord if a team needs a player for the league match. If a team loses a player mid-season, you'll have the opportunity to play with them full-time. Players who signed up before the draft will be given priority for joining teams and stand-ins over those who signed up afterwards.
Yeah, that's the same thing that we said before, where we're definitely going to prioritize people who are in the league and vouched for pre-draft instead of players who've joined after, maybe recommended by their friends. If a friend's trying to snake their get a new teammate on their team by recommending a friend join the league, we're definitely going to focus on the vouch players before anybody who joined post-draft.
And again, we hope there is a ranking system that shows if in a beautiful, perfect world, it would just be straight MMR, and then we can
just match number to number,
match ranking, and we can match number to number or find someone in kind of that vicinity. But if it doesn't, at least any type of ranking system will help us if we do have to kind of go into this new pool of players that weren't the original 60 vouched. Again, that's hopefully people will stick around, so we never have to do that, and we can just start using vouched as kind of our only free agent pool. But sometimes things aren't perfect.
Definitely. I guess like we never really thought of this, but there could be a situation where if a player from one team leaves, leaving them with 4 or even 3 players, we may have to pull a sub time replacement on another team if one team shows they're constantly having their 4 players show up. Maybe that's something we could think about instead of pulling someone who was there post-draft. But in a last resort situation, we will take someone who wasn't there for the draft and put them on a team full-time. But that's definitely the worst situation possible for us. Okay.
Right.
The FAQs.
So we're going to move on to the frequently asked questions. Why can't my full team join the league? This league is for individual players and free agents. So while your full team cannot enter together, you can all enter as individuals and get drafted by captains. We are focusing on individual player development and exposure and building a community of like-minded competitive players. If you already have a team and want to stick together, we recommend you playing in NACAL.
If you already have an organization and you want that org to be represented in Future Kings, you can send one player in to be a captain and have your other players join as individuals, but there's no guarantee that another captain won't draft one of the players on your team. In that situation, if that does happen where some of your players get picked and then you kind of want to leave the league, obviously you will be receiving a season ban or 2-season ban. Because we have had that happen before in previous experiences where an org joins and tries to draft all their players, one of them gets picked, and they all just leave because they don't want to play with separate people.
It's not like we're not trying to like separate teams. It's more like
to create a system of sustainability where everybody gets better together instead of only playing with your 4, and not really getting to know anybody else in the meantime.
And there's
Well,
no
again, it's
rule.
different.
Sorry, Doe, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's different. Like you can play NBA 2K with the Lakers, but sometimes you want to try doing a draft league. It's just a different opportunity. You find different things out about yourself. So again, if you want to stick as a team, we definitely recommend going towards the NACAL. But if you want to try something different, again, learn things about yourself that you didn't know, maybe some issues you've had in your own game, it's definitely a good community to kind of start in and figure out how to improve yourself.
And if you guys want to enter as a team into NACIL, you're more than welcome to enter in NACIL and then enter into Future Kings as individuals. So you'll still be playing as a team just on Sunday. You'll be playing against each other.
Yep, that's true, and that could be good also to play against your teammates to try to point out their flaws that you might not see when you're playing with them at the same time. All right, we can continue then.
All right. Why is there only one series per week? We are trying to make Future Kings accessible to as many competitive players as possible, so one series per week gives the most people the opportunity to participate. They will also make it easier to get as many matches casted/recorded as possible. We encourage players to play GBs and other forms of competition during the other 6 days of the week.
Yeah, like we said before, if people sign up for a weekend league, we want to make sure that they're only going to be playing on the weekend, and that's best done by having one series per week. And that gives teams lots of opportunity to play. If you already have like a team before Future Kings, you'll have 6 days a week to practice with them, and then 1 day a week to play in Future Kings and get better as an individual.
Alright. Can captains drop players? If a captain believes they need to drop a player after the draft, they will need to present the reasons to the admins. Players cannot be dropped for simply playing bad, but if a player is refusing to participate in team discussions and will not communicate their availability with the captain, they may become vulnerable to replacement.
So in a situation where your worst player, you find he's like costing the team simply based on skill, the admins will have to look at that. But if a guy is completely AFK or only showing up minutes before game without communicating anything, and you find that to be really, really hard to deal with, and the mods also see that, there will be situations where we'll have to replace the player. But hopefully that won't happen, but I can almost guarantee you that it's going to happen at least once.
It would have to be a pretty extreme situation for us to drop the player like based on skill level.
If a guy is active in the league and constantly participating in showcase and active in the chats and player development and stuff like that, we're definitely going to want to keep him around the league even if he isn't the best player. But if a guy is completely AFK and also kind of costing your team, that's when we're going to have to step in. All right.
And again, just quickly before it, if you are a captain, please don't try to take it into your own hands and try to convince a player to leave.
Yeah, we've had that situation in the past where we had a captain decide that it was up to him to tell a player that he's not good enough to play in the league, and if that happens again, the captain will be stripped of their duties.
Like, we have every game filmed. We'll see how this person plays. COD is an eye test. There's not much more besides an eye test for COD to decide who is good and who is bad. You can maybe bring in stats, but again, if you're looking simply at stats, your worst player is probably not your actual worst player. So we'll take it into our own account and kind of decide if they have a spot on a team in Future Kings. But again, when we're going with 60 people, there is only potentially 40 being in total on teams. So we hope we don't come into that occasion. There's going to be 20 people pretty much left over. So again, it shouldn't happen at all, hopefully.
We also encourage players, like, if they feel like their captain is like trying to force them out or is like, I don't want to say like bullying, because I think we're all old enough not to be bullying, but if you feel like you're trying to get like forced out or intimidated out by like your captain, then like we encourage you to come forward like and DM one of the admins.
Yeah, bullying is a real thing that can happen in a league like this for sure, where individual players take it upon themselves to try to force a player out of a league. We've seen it in the past, and I'm expecting to see it in the future. So if that happens, don't try to argue with your captain, or if you're a captain, don't try to argue with your player. Just take it to the admins, and we can deal with it like the adults that we are.
Yeah, it's the same for captains. Like, if you feel like a player on your team, like maybe you're not the best player on your team and you're a captain, and you feel like players on your team are trying to force you out, then by all means, like, get in contact with an admin or a mod.
Yep, maybe a trade can be worked out, or maybe we'll just have to reevaluate the captain or player situation on a certain team. Okay, finally, the last part of the document.
There's going to be 2 more portions.
Oh, there is actually more. I lied.
1 minute.
Okay.
Next is going to be why are teams disbanded after each season? As this league will focus on individual player development and exposure, having the opportunity to play with as many different people as possible can be very beneficial to growing your skill set. This will also allow us to bring in new players and captains for each season. If one team is much stronger during one season, a new draft will help rebalance the teams moving forward. If a player really likes playing together and has good chemistry, they are encouraged to participate in the following season of NACAL.
We've had situations in the past where after a season, a team wants to stick together and wants to stick together in, well, our past league. But if a team wants to stick together in Future Kings, we would recommend taking the other 6 days a week to explore other options. So the reason why we like to disband teams is the reason that we listed. Also, with a league like this, there's quite a large skill gap sometimes. So reshuffling the teams after every few months is quite beneficial for the competitive integrity of a league like this. So it's pretty important that we do that.
Yeah, it gives players, like we said, like gives players a chance to play with like new players like every season.
Yeah, it also allows people to change their roles or become captains and stuff like that after a couple months.
Whereas one team might really enjoy playing together, there might be another team that
definitely does
like
not.
together at all. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's a reason why we have 1 day a week for Future Kings and 6 days of the week that aren't. So you can play GBs or another league for 6 days a week, come back to Future Kings, find future teammates that you might want to play GBs and leagues with, and then you continue that cycle as the Black Ops Cold War progresses. All right, and finally the last part.
How will hosts be decided? There will be an initial coin flip to decide who will choose the host maps 1, 2, or 3, 4. The losing team of the coin flip will host the maps that were not chosen. Game 5 will be decided with another coin flip. Non-hosting teams are allowed to request a host test before games. If they do not request a host test before map 1 and feel they are experiencing problems, the map will not be replayed, but they can request a host switch before map 2. And just a note, if the admins notice a host becomes unplayable during a game, that game may be replayed.
Every COD player knows when they feel like they're experiencing host lag and when it's actually happening visibly on the screen. So if the mods are watching the game and they see people like starting around the map and it's actually unplayable, we probably will have to step in. But if a guy thinks that he's, losing track of a few bullets every gunfight, and he's actually not, that's a situation where we might just have to let it play out.
Yeah, it'll be an admin's discretion.
Yeah,
for
there's never been a COD player who hasn't been screwed over by a host at least once. So
we've all said it. We've all said, this guy's hosting me.
Yep.
We've all done it, or this host is bad for me. When in reality, we know we're just missing.
Especially in a league that's in North America with East, West, and Central players, it's impossible to find a host that's going to be equal ping for every player in the league.
Yes.
So there will be times where you're experiencing not the greatest host, and there will be time where you are completely destroying kids because you're on the better host, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah. So this will be the format we're using for the hosting for the regular season for sure. Maybe in the playoffs we can look into neutral hosting.
In the playoffs, well, it depends also on the spectator mode in Cold War, how many slots there's going to be.
Yes.
So if there is enough room, like in Black Ops 4, there wasn't enough room if you had 2 casters to also have a neutral host, unless the casters did that. So if there's enough room and we have it like a guy who just wants to host every game for whatever reason, like a weirdo, then maybe he will. But yeah, we'll explore that when the time comes.
Yeah.
So I think that's everything. Anybody else have any final thoughts before we get this up on the YouTube?
Just hope we have a good first season. Hope we get lots of players joined up, and hopefully everyone has some fun.
Yeah, we'll definitely refer to this video in the rule set as the season goes on, because there's going to be a lot of people who join and say, how does this work? Or why can't my team join 1,000 times? So yeah, definitely if you watch this video and you see people join the league and they're asking questions, if you want to hashtag league info, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm sure a mod will anyway, like shortly after a message comes in that's talking about the rules that they didn't read, because everybody so far in the Discord seems like they may have ignored the rules. So yeah.
People who are on the fence about entering like a draft league because they're nervous about not getting drafted or anything, from past experience, I can tell you that the draft stream is by far the most fun part of the season.
Unless you're playing in the finals, the most fun you may have throughout the season is seeing your name get drafted. And it's
The draft is so much
I
fun.
will say this, it's a lot easier to find a team playing in Future Kings or a draft league like this than it is to just sort through the GB rule set or the GB ladder and stuff like that and just like play pubs and add people and do all that weird stuff. Like
Yep.
that's just such a headache compared to actually playing in a league with individuals who are like-minded and want to find a team to get better with. So,
Not just necessarily a team either. Like people are going to be able to use the community to find just players for ranked or players to play with GB just
yeah, or
randomly throughout
Warzone
the
or anything
day.
like that, yeah.
Our Warzone is it's really built on the idea that it's going to be a community and
For sure.
non-toxic for the most part. You can do your shit talk. There's a designated area to do that, and that's always fun as long as it doesn't get out of hand. But again, it should be a fun area for everybody to figure out what they need
Yeah,
to do.
having a schedule and a league definitely creates structure of competition, but at the end of the day, it is a community for like-minded COD players who want to get better as an individual and find other people who want to do that also. And you can play all the different game modes, ranked, Cold War, Warzone, whatever the hell that's going to look like. So yeah, it should be a good time. All good?
All good.
Okay, GG everybody. See you in a month and a half for the draft.